Welcome back, everyone, to Bridging the Gap. Myself, Dora, and Tyler Simpson. Today we are joined by Hopatcong Councilwoman Rachel Rodriguez. Imagine this, a bunch of 20-year-olds and early 30-year-olds are getting involved, wanting to make change in America. And older people in the 50s, the boomer generation, decides, hey, not your time just yet. So we're having Rachel on here today to talk about a little bit what her experience is through politics, and Tyler had a similar experience. And I myself have also seen that ceiling as well in politics and just in general living in New Jersey of taking the torch for the next generation. So thank you, Rachel, for coming on with us today.
Hi. Yeah, no, I'm excited. The studio looks awesome. We talk so much. I'm like, we've never done this in person before, so this should be exciting.
Yeah, I know. All right, well, Rachel, do you want to tell the guests a little bit about your experience in your life?
Yeah. So without getting too into the details, obviously you guys know this is, my first term on council. Married, 3 kids, live in Hopatcong, love my crazy busy life. And I never really was one for politics. Had no desire, had just no interest. Life is busy. But there was an instance where the council at the time was attempting to outsource our dispatch services to the county level. And myself and many other residents just didn't feel like that was in the best interest of the residents. Sometimes, while there might be a cost savings up front, the actual damage in terms of losing the knowledge of the dispatchers, the added security for our police department with having additional bodies on site, you can't put a price on that stuff. So myself, as well as the 800 plus residents, put together a petition, signed it, and we were able to keep our dispatch center in town. When that happened, that was like 22-ish. I was kind of like, well, if this is going on, what else is going on? So that's really kind of what got me involved. I wanted to take a deeper dive, see what else was kind of taking place that we weren't really sure of. Because social media today, you read something, it could be somebody's opinion, you don't know if it's true. So you have to go and find out for yourself. So I started attending council meetings. I became friendly with many of the council people, and then just decided like, hey, let's take a shot at this. Let's run.
So you really just decided to dive head first.
Oh yeah. My husband would tell you that's probably the scariest thing about me is I will find something. I'm like, let's do it. 110% nothing. Let's go.
And how did you say your first term has been? If you had to grade it from 1 through 10, how would you say your first term went?
It's been really rocky, and I think coming in, never having done this before, I didn't grow up in a politics family, so this really was completely brand new. There's a lot to absorb. It's not just the information in terms of what you're voting on. It's also the processes, understanding that as a council person, you have to work through other employees in the building, our administrator, to get information. So when people get frustrated about like government takes so long, it really does. And for sometimes there's good reason, and other times it's just like, we can fix this. But no, it's been rocky in the sense where it's like, you're never always going to agree with your colleagues. And I feel like sometimes people just make up their minds because they make up their minds. They don't want any other decisions. They don't want to see the other side of the coin. They're just like, this is what I think is best, and this is what I think we should do. So I think the difficulty of the term as a whole has just been people not getting out of their own ways to be receptive to open collaboration.
Before we go into more of the nitty-gritty of the current government stuff, love to talk a little bit more about, you running for office. Because when you ran, you were part of a slate of 3 of you guys, and you ran against, which is the average age of them, probably in their high 60s, if not 70s.
Yeah.
They were the establishment. They were the establishment in town.
Mm-hmm.
They were ingrained. Obviously, as you know, my family's been in town for 4 generations now. I'm pretty sure that they also were in town at that time too. They probably were also elected officials at that time too when we came over. So what was that like, and the experience of kind of seeing, the old versus the new?
So I didn't really know them outside of seeing them at town council meetings. But I know when I was running for council, not having any history with them, the women that I ran with, at the time, we made an absolutely fantastic team. Everybody was like, you guys are so close knit, you're on fire. And it felt really great. But I told them from the start, like, hey, any bad blood that you have with these people, because you've worked with them before, it's not my bad blood. I really want to come to my own realization, see it for myself, and not just get pulled into things that I shouldn't be involved with. I think sometimes the people who stay in office for so long, I think they do it because they want something else to hold on to. They're retired. I'm not saying it's for everybody, but I think from what I can see in town, not all, but most, They were retired. They'd been there for a long time. They were kind of in a good group, but the times were changing, ideas were changing, technology was changing. It was just time for Hopatcong to bring on younger people to help modernize processes, the technology, and just have a fresh perspective. Because I feel like when you get stuck in a rut, then there's nothing exciting if you continue to do the same thing over and over.
I mean, you're in your mid-20s. Like, what's the next age? You're the youngest, obviously, on town council.
Yes.
What's the age difference between you and the next highest, I guess?
Over 10 years.
Over 10 years,
I
right?
think it's 12 or 13 years.
12 or 13 years difference. So do you feel the similar? I know obviously you weren't running against in a primary
Right.
necessarily, but did you feel similar in terms of like government change and structure and hey guys, let's get into the 21st century type thing?
Yeah, I mean, and there's something that, when I was appointed in 2024, it's something that I noticed too. It's like a lot of our technology, such as Hopatcong, it was very outdated. It wasn't modernized. Like, we didn't utilize Nixle the way we should have. We didn't have a proper constituent or a resident reach out program, which we've now since established. And I just feel like there was, it was a lot of, and not to bash our council, I love everyone I work with. We have a very great relationship, but it was a lot of reactive ordinances, reactive policies rather than proactive.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's something in recent years that we've definitely expanded and started working towards being more proactive rather than reactive.
Okay. I know Rachel, being one of the youngest members on town council, even being one of the youngest probably people in politics, and I would say New Jersey as a whole, because there's not a lot of us as a whole necessarily that are elected officials to begin with and have a family and have all these different things. What would you say is probably the hardest thing to do, being able to balance a family of three and having all these pets and involved in your communities? And
So back to when I said I like to go like full in 110%. I think the first year really engulfed me, and it took me away from my family a lot, because what I was led to understand the job was you have to be there 24/7. You have to see what's going on. You have to do all these things, but it's like you really don't. So trusting the professionals you have in the building, I think, is a huge thing, right? Because there's really no reason for a council person to be in the building unless you have like a committee meeting, a council meeting. Like, just trust who you have there. But I think for me, having 3 kids and having a full-time job and volunteering for everything else, it's just really taking time to step back, set the priority straight, ask yourself, do I need to get involved in this? Can I delegate this? Can I give an opinion and not get as into the weeds as I should be? I think it's learning how to balance, which is hard for a lot of people. It's still hard for myself some days, or I just procrastinate and I don't want to do it. But I think, having a conversation with my husband and even my kids, that's kind of how I noticed it. My kids started to make comments, and if like my girls were making comments and noticing, I was like, all right, something's not right here, because at the end of the day, like, your family always is gonna come first. Then I also love representing the town and dealing with people. So it was just right now, I actually feel most like at peace with where I am and being able to balance and get back to residents and all that stuff. So being excited about it definitely had me in there just way too much than what I should have been, but it's a learning curve.
I mean,
So
I remember seeing it at every single event that we were
Oh,
we were ever at.
uh-huh.
So I think that's where our friendship really grew from, the fact that we just were at everything together, and we're like, just it grew from there.
Yeah.
And
Networking
so,
is part of the game too,
Yes.
right? It's like, and again, when you meet new people and you have these conversations, like amazing ideas stem from conversations that you probably wouldn't have thought of on your own. So I don't know, I like to think that, and my family does come to a lot of the events with me, so we always have a good time when we go. But I can see it in my kids' eyes. They're like, it's time. We need
it's time to go home. We're hungry. It's time to go to bed.
I'm like, all right.
I've never had that, thankfully, because my parents weren't involved in politics, but actually it skipped a generation in my family, actually. And what's it because that was my grandparents and everyone. That was my mom was dragged around all the time, going to all the luncheons, and just like your girls are.
Yeah.
Dragged to every single one left and right. Being so young, do you think that it's almost a disadvantage sometimes? Or do you think that it's, an advantage in some cases?
I wouldn't really say it's a disadvantage. I mean, I think it's an advantage in the sense that having younger kids and being in a lot of like these sports programs, you get to talk to a lot of younger families, and you can hear their grievances, because a lot of people you hear, and I'm sure you guys too, you're like, hey, come to a council meeting or whatever, a lot of the time they can't,
Mhm.
right? They have to cook dinner, or they're working, or they have to travel to a game or something like that. So it's really difficult. So for me, I mean, I see it as more of a positive that, I have young kids and it lets me get out to more places while attending their events because I can still communicate and be involved.
I almost feel like that's like almost a forgotten demographic because when you look at people that do vote, it's like it's not even actually 18 to 25-year-olds. We don't vote. We like vote the least out of anyone. But as you graduate, get older, you vote more. But it's really the senior citizens, especially in Hopatcong. They are a huge voting bloc. They vote all the time. However, they're not the ones that are necessarily always getting their voices heard. They're the ones that are getting their voices heard. And it's that like the late 20s, early 30s, even 40s and early 50s of having kids. Like you said, you go to sports, you're doing different things. Do you feel like that might have given you a little bit of an advantage of understanding kind of the pulse of the community?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I don't necessarily have as much access with the senior community as I would like to, again, because with juggling everything and being at work, right? Like I don't get to always go into the senior center. I wish I could. I try to make it when I can, and hear firsthand from them directly, but I mean, we have a huge senior population in Hopatcong, and we always want to make sure that the services are, being provided as promised, and the facilities are being maintained and cleaned as they should be, and that everything is safe in terms of lighting and pavement and security just all around is how it should be. But that's probably the one demographic in our town I wish I was able to get a little more time with.
I would say hopefully no one breaks a hip as a joke, but like they could.
Oh, listen, I'm walking sometimes, so you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I love how you said I was in my early 30s. I appreciate that. But
What are you talking about? You're early 30s.
But no, but like sometimes I can just walk tripping over my feet, let alone like we have uneven, parking lots and the lighting isn't
What did I
great.
tell you? The parking lot is not great there.
Yeah, exactly. So it's being worked on.
Good. That's good. In that regard, I mean, obviously I come, as I work more in state politics side of things. I mean, I've seen it myself of like, I'm the youngest person in that room. At one point, it's been about 50 years. When I go to my own town council meeting, it's about like 40 years. And it's just like, okay, guys, like,
Yeah.
Not to say that we need to have some 20-year-old necessarily up there, but good intentions and stuff like that. It's like, well, time to let old dogs lie, as we'll say.
Yeah.
So do you feel that a lot of people, like even in residence or in the county, from your own experience, have felt that way too, or do you see a trend maybe changing? Because like you're young, Tyler's young, we have Jack DeGroot, he's 26, 27. 6, 7, as the kids will say.
No.
Sorry, I hang up my shirt way too much.
I'm not.
Unbelievable.
I will not be an enabler.
This is what happens when I hang out with 35, 18 to 22-year-olds every day.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So, no, listen, I love when I ran in 23, I think is also when Jack DeGroot was running, it's when I met you, working on the campaign that you were volunteering with. I was excited to see that a lot of young blood coming in. I think, I don't know, there's no like right answer for this. Obviously, it's all just a matter of opinion, but I wish there was more. I wish there was younger people, excuse me, that would get involved. But I think like my son, let's talk about him for a second.
Yeah, let's talk about
Yeah, so like he's Gen Z, just turned 18, graduated high school, starting college at the end of August. And when I get so passionate about something, I would love for my kids to be just as passionate about it. Now it's harder for my girls because they're so much younger, being 10 and 9. But having like I'm gonna call him a semi-adult because at 18 years old, right? I don't think he's fully mentally developed as an adult.
Neither are we though. So.
Well, exactly.
We haven't gotten there yet. So.
But like, I want him to be as passionate about these things. But him at his age, like right now, his priorities are sports because he's played soccer since he was 3. So he's working on conditioning. He's worried about, money. So he's working as much as he can to save up just because the cost of living in New Jersey is just absolutely insane. So it's like I was blessed to be able to take him to vote for the first time this year, which was absolutely awesome. And he really doesn't have an understanding about it at all. And that's okay, because I feel like sometimes people are embarrassed to admit, like, I don't know anything about politics, right? But there's no handbook. There's no handbook for you, just kind of learn. But, I said to him, I'm like, well, hey, here's your simple ballot. Let's look these people up. Let's see what they're about. It's kind of like guiding him. But again, his age, he's like, Mom, I really, I want to go pick up an extra shift at work. I need money. So it's hard to like get younger people involved because of just where we are today in
Yeah.
terms of the cost of living and everything else. So,
I definitely agree with that.
Mhm.
Still living at home, like
mhm.
100% agree with that. And I think it's just getting harder and harder every single year. Yeah, it's certainly an issue that I think that our generation is going, and millennials and Gen Z, soon to be Gen Alpha maybe eventually, are going to have to tackle covering the three generations when we take over for the boomers, when we take over for Gen Xers. And so it's how we're going to balance that. How do we pass the torch? How do we make that change? Because it doesn't matter what party right now, in my opinion, in New Jersey, everyone's old.
Oh, yeah.
Literally, we, Viking Ganamore, our assemblyman, was the youngest member of the assembly at 42 years old.
Mhm.
I think Katie Brennan's maybe slightly younger, but she's in her, I think she's like 40. So it's like, what does that say about like, our state government? What does that say about like, even the local governments, it gets so entrenched, and it's frustrating because, part of groups like Run Gen Z that like, I see there are the group, national group is probably over, I think it's 500 people that are either running for office or are elected officials. They're all Gen Z, meaning they're all under 32 or
Mhm.
28, whatever. They're all elected officials already. But like, we have one representative in U.S. House of Congress, and Gen Z is up to almost 30. So it's like,
Mhm.
why don't we have anyone?
Right.
It's very interesting to see that demographic change. I also think that going back to the voter registration aspect of it, though, I was tangentially, I sent that to the group chat. Nobody registered to vote.
Yeah.
I think that's a bigger issue too. In that
Mhm.
regard of like, yes, we have automatic voter registration in the DMV. That would be a hot take. I'm kind of okay. Maybe not with the 35,000 people who were
Oh my gosh, I know.
non-U.S. citizens that were on the voter rolls in New
Yeah.
Jersey, but like,
Whoops.
And that might be more than that. Who knows? But like, if that's number, if we're gonna have access to people to vote, why not? Like, I know this a couple episodes ago. I know it's a hot take on my end. Is that I was like, why if we can transfer millions of dollars in bank accounts through your phone, why can't we vote for our phones? Hot take. I know your thoughts.
Voting through your phone.
If I can be a member of JP Morgan, if I can, work for any of these big, companies, banks, and transfer millions of dollars with the touch of my thumb, why can't we?
I'm sure there are safeguards.
Oh, there are.
Again, never having talked about this before. I'm sure there are safeguards to put in place. I mean, like Face ID with Apple, right? Like you can't unlock your phone unless it's your face.
Yes.
Um,
They also have the thumb. That's how they do a lot of the transfers. They do
Yeah.
with the thumb.
I never actually thought about that. That's definitely interesting.
Because
I
you
mean,
think it could be safer than, and then like ballots possibly.
come
you know,
on, let's hear
I don't know.
it.
I'm old school. I like the good old pen and paper.
Look, I think we
I
should
mean-
also have election day be a national holiday. That's the.
Oh no, I'm
That
totally
I
in
100%
agreement
agree
there.
with. Absolutely.
I just feel weird with the phones. I feel like it is subject to potential hacking. I understand the Face ID aspect. I know we talked about this.
You work in finance.
I do.
You literally go on your laptop, clicking the button, millions of transfer dollars over assets, liquid.
That is true. Wait, oh,
That can be hacked too.
Oh, my company doesn't see it's not mine. It's not coming out of my bank account. But yeah, no, I get what you're saying. I mean, I think there's definitely safeguards that could be in there to make it feasible. I don't know if we're ready for that as a country yet. I think there's so many concerns already, like
Just with the standard practices that we have.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I think it's an interesting discussion. I would like to see some research on it. So
I do think this is good. This is going to get the legal mind in my head. It might come up into like a privacy act issue, in all honesty, because like I opt out. I don't have the thumbprint on my phone, and I also don't do facial recognition on my phone. So like, I'm not to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but like they already have my data. I know they do. I totally hunt on conspiracy theorists. So, like, yeah,
it's in the other room.
Exactly. But like the more info that you give them, the more it is.
Right,
They have like I've been fingerprinted. I'm like worked in a school, had a fingerprinted for that.
Mhm.
They have my facial ID walking around the streets.
Yeah.
I know they have all that stuff. It's just like willingly giving it to them is just feel like more of a privacy factor. I know there are people who are way worse than I am in terms of that.
Yeah. I
We
mean,
know
I think it's an interesting theory, right? Like vote by phone. Again,
Yeah.
never having thought about it before. I mean, even with early voting, I mean, it's a huge convenience.
Yeah.
Some people are very upset by it. My husband and I are old school. Oh yeah, we'll get there. My husband and I are old school in the sense it's like we love waking up and voting on election day. Like that's the day we vote. We will get there. I like to go at the end of the day.
Yeah.
He usually goes first thing in the morning, but yes, I mean, and I said early voting I think is a great option to have only because if you're traveling, you know, you have a surgery that you're going for, you don't vote by mail. You know, I think it's a great option to have, but you know, classic social media, some people just aren't fans of it. But
I know. I got my grandmother to finally fall in love with it because I took her to it once
okay.
at the library.
Yeah.
I was like, Grandma, we're just gonna go. She's like, what? No, this isn't election day. I'm like, Grandma, what if it snows or what if it like rains?
No, and that's exactly
Like,
yeah.
you don't like to
Mhm.
drive in the rain. This is open for 10 days. Let's go on a sunny day.
Yeah.
We'll go out at noon. We'll get lunch after.
Yeah.
It was great.
And I think
Like-
it's pretty convenient, right? Like having for Suffolk County at least where we live, like 3 locations.
It's
And we're
kind of
all pretty close. Yeah.
Like,
They have
you,
8 in
you,
North
you,
County.
you go to like North Jersey. Every other county has more than 3.
Yeah.
Like it's us and Warren. I have like 3. Like everyone else.
And we get lucky because we have it around Sparta Stanley.
I know.
Yeah, you
Mine's
guys are
an
right.
expert.
5 minutes from me. It's nice.
I passed my polling location to go to the library, like where the voting would take place. So it's like I'll just wait.
Yeah. No, I think that's a part of you talking about Jacob and having that access to voting.
Mhm.
What makes you want to vote? Well, what makes you want to vote is what's going to motivate you to actually go and like your money. You're going to care about your wallet. I was going my first Borough campaign ever with Frank Pauletta. We guest on a couple shows ago. He taught me that, and I still firmly believe this one is that voters care about like 3 things. They care about their kids keeping a roof over their head, and they care about what's in their wallet.
Mhm.
And I think, pejoratively speaking, that's pretty much most Americans at the end of the day. And if you can help alleviate any of those problems, the voters will want to go and vote for you, or at least understand or feel that you understand the problems.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so I think that's a big part of talking about voter motivation and things like that. I mean, this year in 2025 with the governor's race, we had numbers similar to presidential years. 2 years in a row, like 50, 60 plus. That's insane because we haven't
Mhm.
seen that in a long time.
I know.
So
Yeah.
2023 was like 23% of people voted, I think, in Sussex County, and I think in the state it was like 25%. So it's like, okay. And that was with all those contested primaries
Yeah.
and all those contested generals too.
Mhm.
It's just like, okay, well, I don't know. But overarching, I mean, Richard, what do you think is like some of the next like issues of trying to get into that barrier or getting past that barrier of getting into office?
I see it so much as barriers. I feel like I'm
Or
just,
hurdles,
I'm just
I
gonna
guess.
say, yeah, well I think
You're not
like, I
knocking
think-
down walls necessarily.
No, of course. I think like politics is a huge thing.
Mm.
I think people will blindly support a person because they're friends with them
Mm-hmm.
rather than the platform that they're running on. And listen, you could be a great person, but maybe I just don't feel like your platform or how you performed for the last couple of years is like what I'm looking for in somebody to represent me. At least again, and this is like specific to Hopatcong. In the elections that I've seen, I think like politics is a huge thing. I think there's also, we have so many people who just don't vote at all. And I'm kind of tempted to go and like knock on some doors and be like, hey, like what would motivate you to go vote, right? What's concerning to you? Why haven't you voted? What's the issue? Again, I love connecting with as many people as possible, but I think it's a lot of people from what I hear, and I'm sure it's everywhere, it's like nothing's gonna change. It's gonna be the same old, the same people running it. It's gonna be, all the same stuff. So it's like, why be bothered to take my time and run or be on council when nothing's gonna get done anyway?
Mhm.
So, I say shoot your shot. I encourage anybody and everybody to run. I don't think, just because there's concern about possibly not winning, do it. Show them that you're not scared. Put
Did you?
yourself out there.
Did either of you ever? I know I did. When I ran for Board of Ed, I was convinced literally 3 days before the deadline was.
Mhm.
Thankfully, I only needed 10 signatures. But did you guys ever feel like that? Like, why am I doing this as you're running for it? Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, probably like right when I first started. It was like, so I was appointed in January. I had a primary that year because I was filling for Mayor Gene Rocco. Shout out to Gene.
Hey, Gene.
I was filling his spot on the council. And, I'm going out. It's my first month or two, and I'm like, most 23-year-olds, like, at least around here, it's like they go out partying, they go out doing all this
Yeah.
crazy stuff, and I'm looking up our ordinances to try to memorize. That was my Saturday night in 2024, just so everyone knows. And I think it was a little intimidating too, especially when I first started door knocking. I'm 23 years old. I was in school a year before that.
Mhm.
It was a little intimidating, but you'd be surprised how the positive feedback that I received from people. Like just seeing a young person taking initiative, going out there, trying to learn from other residents, trying to learn what the issues are. I mean, really, as a young person, all I say is don't be afraid to take a chance.
Yeah.
Because you never know. You could win like me. And then now I'm entering my second term next year as long as I win my election.
Like, I was like, I feel like you've run like 3 years in a row. Like every time we talk to Tyler, it's like I'm running out.
Always-
Just run.
I'm always outdoor knocking. I'm always out talking to people.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love that part.
Constituent services, what you got to do.
Yeah. I mean, I think this year running for re-election, I think before we filed our petition, I really kind of had a moment where I was like, do I want to run again?
Yeah.
I love what I do. I adore the people that I represent. I have, no intention of leaving my town anytime soon. It's like knowing the struggles that we faced over the past 3 years. I made like a video testimonial, and which, by the way, sometimes so weird sitting in the living room just recording a message, to put out there. But it's like from the heart, and it's like, if you think about it, as a council person versus a resident who comes to a meeting, the only thing that we can do that they can't is vote and get access to some confidential information. And that's like really simplifying it.
Mhm.
But we've seen people time and time again make change from, not being on council. So it's like knowing it's like, well, I can fight for my spot on council. I can attempt to get reelected and continue fighting my colleagues, who are not fully receptive to collaborative relationships, to positive changes. It's like, or I can sit in the public, make some noise, and go home and put my head on a pillow and fall asleep soundly at night. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's hard to choose. And you think about where you are in life, what you want to do next. There's a lot of things that go into it. But yeah, I don't know. But I strongly encourage everybody to run. If you have a desire, just do it. Because I think at the end of the day, there's always something to learn from it. And you meet awesome people along the way. If I didn't run, we never would have met.
No, if I didn't say yeah, I didn't, and I would have needed a job after graduating
Yeah.
college. It's like, yeah, let's figure that one out. And I would have met you. Maybe I would have met you in terms of like YRs and stuff. But
Yeah, maybe.
but never would have been. Rachel and I never would have been trauma bonded.
We were trauma bonded.
The thing that we met, it was a PR nightmare.
Trauma bonded.
It was a bunch of lies that were put on Facebook because that's, or as Mayor Martello used to say, crayon book.
Oh.
Yeah, 'cause that's what it is.
I love that.
And it was just a bunch of lies that we were handing out petitions and flyers at the Memorial Day parade.
Yep.
Which is like a huge event, as you know, huge event in Hopatcong. But we were just going there, just shaking hands. We weren't handing out materials or anything. If anything, actually, I think I gave Dan materials, and that's what they took a picture of. Literally, what they took a picture of.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
he asked for materials.
Yeah, no, of course. Yep.
And that's how I met Dan. That's how I met girls too, simultaneously. And then we went up door knocking after that. It wasn't like we were handing out, but all over Facebook. It was
Yeah, my
glowing.
husband was like a character witness to say no, they were
Yes.
not campaigning during the memorial event. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But again, with social media, you say one thing online and it takes off like wildfire, and next thing you know, you have hundreds of people believing that that's in fact what happened, right? So I was really proud of my husband for being like, hold on a second. I was there. I was standing next to you guys. There was absolutely no campaigning. What are you guys doing?
For people, obviously, we want younger people,
Mhm.
especially, all of us being young Republicans in Sussex County. Obviously, if anyone's watching this in Sussex County, come hang out with us. We meet every third, or usually the first Thursday of the month. But what's some advice that you would say there if people are interested in getting involved? What's some of the first steps that you would take?
I had a couple different avenues. I think first I would say is see if there's any volunteer openings with the Recreation Commission, volunteering, because the events are always fun. You get, yeah.
That's the one thing I don't.
Recreation.
That's the one
Hold on,
thing
I said there's several avenues.
Okay.
Hold on.
Hardest day.
Hold on again.
Hardest day in my town.
So I would say one avenue is seeing what committees you can volunteer with. Some people like events. Some people like doing that stuff. Other things I would say is that just come to a meeting. Come to meetings, sit there, just listen to what's going on. I joke with some of my friends and say that Hopatcong should charge for streaming services as a source of revenue because our meetings do get very intense. And we get a lot of views. So why not make it a source of revenue? No, but all jokes aside, come to a meeting, listen to it, see what you understand, see what you don't know, ask questions. And I will say, if you've never like gotten up and spoken in public comment before, it can be very intimidating because you're standing there, you have like 9 people staring at you, right? Like waiting to see what you're gonna say. So it can be overwhelming. But we've had newer residents start coming to our meetings and they'll message me on Facebook, hey, what did this mean? Hey, where can I find this? And I think it's great. I love sharing information. So I think just start researching. And there are, I mean, let's be honest, not everything you do is sunshine and rainbows. And there's some pretty dry stuff. You're just like, what am I reading? Like some of the ordinances that we have to read through and we're just like, oh my gosh, this is a lot. But I think just start small and then like the rest just kind of follows. So, and trust the professionals. In our capacity, trust the professionals, but even like as residents, like question everything because that's how you learn. Like I ask endless questions to this day, and I know many find it annoying. I have no shame in it because I'm not afraid to say like I don't know something. Yeah. I'm not going to lie and say that I do or try to sell you something that I have no clue about. I want to understand it, especially if I'm voting on it.
Oh, and I think that's the most important part about it. You're voting. You're representing the people.
Right.
Weirdly enough, I do tell my interns that exact same thing. Make sure you ask questions.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as a stupid question. If you don't understand it, most likely the person next to you also probably doesn't understand it. And I've had literally 2 instances of that today. And they just roll it. All of them didn't understand the one thing that I said. And I was like, okay, let me just say this in a different way.
Did you get a complex where you're like, is it me? Is it really?
You know, it does run through my head sometimes. I'm not gonna lie. But no, it's just like, yeah, it's communications can be key in that. I think that asking those questions and getting involved in your town. Now, granted, my story is different than both of you guys because you get appointed and you like wanted to change your town. Mine's all I needed to graduate college and then I got the bug.
Yeah.
And it was just like, yeah, I know I'm a nerd and I'm a history nerd and politics nerd. It was just a natural fit. And now I just get called nerd all the time.
But it's fun. I will say this. It's fun. And we're all nerds. And I will say that on the record. We're all nerds. I think it's fun though when you find people who are younger, obviously we're all different ages, but like younger who you like find somewhere, especially with politics. And like we talk about it. I mean, the 3 of us, we talk pretty often, right? And it goes from sports to people to politics. It's like our conversations are all over the place, but talking politics specifically, like it's nice when you find people you could like relate to and, you know, throw ideas out there and get feedback on.
You're friends at the end of the day, you know, and it's friends for life, as I put it. So, or
until you guys dump me. So.
Well, we would never. Just don't be.
She's gone.
Look, I'm gonna need someone in my cabinet positions. Hopefully, for governor. You know, and we're building up that network now for that.
I already told you the position I wanted.
I could probably do that, yeah. And so I mean, honestly, like, I'm obviously looking at this. Do you have any other questions you want to ask Rachel in overarching?
I think we covered a lot of great points.
Jacob, make sure you're ready to watch through this part right now.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's fine. So we're coming on like 40 minutes now.
Are we?
Okay. 4:55.
You can ask
We start at 4:20.
That's a good idea. So, Rachel, I know there's a lot going on right now in Hopatcong. There seems to be some disagreements up there on the dais. How did your most recent budget meeting go? I think it was last night.
Oh yeah, it was last night. It wasn't the outcome that myself and some of my colleagues had wanted. It was a tie vote amongst the council, 3 vote. The mayor broke in favor to pass the budget. We are very late in the year with passing our budget, so we understand like time is of the essence. But there was a struggle that we faced, and from watching the meetings, you can see there was several instances where we would say on record, like, we have questions, we're not getting responses to our emails, we have ideas of cost saving measures that we want to discuss. Some things you can discuss in public, as you know, and there are things that can't be discussed in public. So we sent in an email. We had Joe send in an email because at that point I had not been getting responses back to my email, just to be like, hey, maybe this can be talked about. None of our questions, none of our emails were ever answered, entertained amongst the governing body. So last night's budget meeting, one of my colleagues said, he spent a tremendous amount of time, and he's on the finance committee, so rightfully so. He spent a tremendous amount of time going through the budget, line item by line item, and he didn't see any cost savings. And our professionals, like our auditor, said, they couldn't find any cost savings as well, which is fine, right? I'm saying trust your professionals, but I think what's discounted is the voting members. You have 6 council people. Nothing is off the table. Like, we all have different ideas, we all have different perspectives. So where I was really frustrated with, we sent in just some of our ideas, which was like over $100,000 for cost savings. To say that's insignificant, I think is just a little reckless and careless, especially because we're just almost a 10% tax increase that we have this year in Hopatcong. So I think we're at a point where we're hearing from residents, aside from the cost of living, they can't afford this tax increase. Like, they're struggling to make ends meet now. And so that's why, like, I'm so frustrated and upset at the fact that it's like every penny matters. $100,000 is not insignificant. If it lowers the tax burden by 0.5%, it's still lowering the tax burden by 0.5%. I don't care. So I think, the budget did pass, so things are going to keep moving. But I think in terms of long-term and projections, there really needs to be a lot more collaboration. Because I asked my colleagues, do you really feel, voting on the budget tonight, that this council took every avenue possible to find cost savings? And they were able to say yes, without hearing our side of the things that we wanted to talk about, without going to executive session, without any of that stuff. So I'm like, how can you say that we did everything in our power to find cost savings? The answer is we didn't. So I think some of the council knew they had to vote to pass the budget, and they just didn't want to do more work. Now, again, we were late in the year, so we needed to get the budget passed, but these were not new conversations we were trying to have. This has been going on since April, May, June, and radio silence. So I think that the budget's passed, yay, but it's not the result that we wanted, at least for the residents, because at the end of the day, we all have to pay for it, and we're responsible for it.
Why do you think there is this drift, it looks like, up on the dais? I mean, it just seems like there's difference of opinions always good, at least in my perspective. But I guess, why do you feel like your side, or not your side, you and your other representatives' voices aren't being heard the same as others?
I think it's because, I guess it's going back to like that old guard mentality that we talked about. So when I ran in 23, I ran on the slate with the mayor's position. We had all these ideas for change. Everything was absolutely fantastic. And fast forward to today, what I've noticed over the last couple of years is there was really, I think not all of us really believed in that platform. I think some ran on a platform to get into the mayor spot without really truly wanting to make those changes. So I think, I jokingly call the mayor's tour right now a revenge tour, because she's a longtime council person. I think she wanted to get back and prove she could be as good of a mayor as her predecessors. But I think just the lack of collaboration, lack of effective leadership shows it's not effective, and the town suffers from it. At the end of the day, it's not my way or my colleagues' way. It's what's best for the people that we're supposed to be representing. It's not what we want, it's what's best for the town. So I think it's just old guard mentality, went back to the ways that they knew. And yeah, that they have the majority, so why entertain the other side?
I mean, that's kind of how people are, though. Continue. Why change status quo when you like the way it is?
Right. No, exactly. Yeah. And listen, if it works, what's the saying? If it's not broke, don't fix it. Right.
I mean, it was kind of broken, though.
No, it was very broken.
Yeah.
Very broken.
Not kind of broken. It was very broken.
It was very broken. But yeah, so hey, let's see. I mean, I think at the end of the day, like, we're gonna keep fighting. We're gonna keep, when I say fighting, we're gonna keep advocating.
Mm-hmm.
We'll keep advocating for the residents. And I think the biggest thing, honestly, a lot of the problems, like you said, instead of being reactive, to be proactive, I think communication goes such a long way, and there's still such a lack of it, that we can fix so much just by pushing information out. And we still are not doing that.
I mean, it's not just you guys. I have it in my own town of like, we do have this streaming, we have all those fun things, but like, I couldn't tell you what's going on. And I'm involved in politics.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what the EDC is doing. I don't know what, I am going to know what the NUA is about to be doing. I'm about to be assigned to that. Thanks. But I'm going to be knowing more about EDC and all that stuff now, but it's doing all those different things that you're going to have to like figure out what's going on. It's not an easy thing to do. And again, going back to the whole parents thing, you don't have time for that. You have 2 kids, like,
Yeah.
Maybe you could be on one board, but like when you look at the county level, what's really funny is that when you look at the county boards, it's all like it's the extremes. It's either you're retired, have nothing else to do,
Yeah.
and you have a lifetime of experience, or you're like Billy, for example. Billy's like 20. He's on the county board. John Sheldon's also like on the county board. You know, it's like all these different people.
Yeah, I mean, it's great life experience.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I think at the local levels, I think, and listen, you have people who will come and make like a big deal about something that's really not a pressing issue. But I think you always just want to make, excuse me, you always just want to make people feel like they're being heard at the end of the day. And that's why I stress communication. Every resident who emails us, like I really try to get to them within 24 hours. And then I do a follow up, like whatever it takes, just to make sure that they're not feeling like they're just ignored. Because that was one of the biggest complaints I heard when I was running.
Mhm.
Hey, I sent an email. Hey, let's go like a phone call. Nobody's getting back to me. And it's like on the grand scheme of things, their concern could be really not as big of a concern as you think it is, but it's important to them. So I want them to feel like, they're no less important because it's not a large issue.
Even just answering back, hey, I'm sorry, this is not.
Oh, yeah.
Like we saw your email. We're
Something
working on
so
it.
simple,
Yeah.
right? And instead, when you don't do that, then we have them coming to us at council meetings. I've sent 4 emails, no response, and it's like this all could have been avoided.
Mhm.
Communication.
Very much so.
So.
And I know we're coming up on time. Is there anything any last wisdom you'd like to bestow upon anyone that wants to run for office or is concerned about, the passing the torch in politics? Any advice on that?
So I would say it's scary, but don't be scared. I think, like I said, perception is a lot, and I think sometimes people get in their own heads too much to be like, I don't want people to think differently of me. I think it says more about somebody if they're able to put themselves out there, challenge yourselves in a position that you know absolutely nothing about. I think networking is absolutely huge, and educate yourself. And I think it's also hard because it's the decisions that we make, they're made with the information we have on hand, and information changes all the time. So I think doing your best to educate yourselves, also being respectful, and just trying to do your best to interpret the information. I mean, I say do it though. Anybody who wants to run, I say go for it. Shoot your shot.
I mean, yeah, same. That was my go-to. Let's go.
Let's do it.
What do you got to lose?
What do you got to lose? It's hey, I lost my election by 84 votes. Like, I'm not bringing that up. It's too early. I'm sorry. But we'll come back around when you want to take over as dictator. That was the position she wanted, by the way. My governor, my cabinet dictator. I was like, okay, chief dictator. Let me break that.
Yo.
Yeah.
Chief of staff.
Yes. Well, thank you everyone for joining us in Bridging the Gap this week. Stay tuned for the next coming episodes and make sure to like and share us on Instagram and TikTok. So talk to you guys later.